Welcome to Drivers Talk Radio. Hosted by automotive expert and championship-winning race car driver Rick Titus. Join Rick and his team for informative and entertaining discussions geared for automotive enthusiasts and consumers alike. Enjoy in-depth interviews with industry leaders and influencers. Now, originating from its studio headquarters in Las Vegas, it's time for Drivers Talk Radio and your host, Rick Titus.
And welcome. Not unlike the president, even I have my own entry music. It's not quite, the White House stuff, but not bad. Hey, welcome to Drivers Talk. I'm Rick Titus. In studio with me today for a very packed show, of course, is a producer and co-host of the program, Tracy Miller, and our engineer and co-producer, Spencer Crick. Having said that, we've got a lot on the agenda today. By the way, we're coming to you from the Quad Resort and Casino right here in the middle of the Las Vegas Strip. If you're in town, you got to come see us because guess what? As we sit right across the street from Caesar's Palace, we sit amongst the auto collection. 250 collector cars, world's largest showroom for vehicles for sale of this nature. And if you give us a buzz prior to, we will in fact get you in here for free. You need to come see this collection. It's a great way to come to work. This show is a pretty special one today, and the interesting irony is that quite candidly, our book giveaway, if you've watch the show much or listen to the show much, we have a book club sponsored by Motor Books, is about the book giveaway on this contest is, of course, the American Motors Corporation, the rise and fall of America's last independent automaker. We mention that because guess what? Most of today's show is dedicated to America's newest independent automaker, and that will be Elio Motors. And we're going to be talking to them, including the CEO and president and frankly, the inventor and key designer of the product. We're going to show that car to you on our website, and we're going to talk a lot about where this company is going and when their vehicles officially launched. They are triple serious. Of course, you can go to our Facebook page and hit like, and you can answer the key question for the book club. True or false, American Motors started life as Hudson? Answer the question, and of course, we will be sending you from Motor Books, American Motors Corporation, The Rise and Fall of America's Last Independent Automaker, by Patrick Foster. And I got to tell you, Tracy and I have both really fallen in love with this book.
I think we're both AMC fans anyway.
We are. There's product in that, but this book revealed a lot of interesting stuff.
And I think some of them were some of the prototype vehicles that they had in here, the concept vehicles that could have actually saved AMC. Wait a minute. No, they couldn't.
No, they couldn't.
But anyway, really good book. Photos in there that were exceptional. And where the storyline went was really good.
Yeah, excellent job. It was funny. I promised mine to the president of the Southern Nevada American Motors Club here. I've become friends with Mark. And I said, yeah, absolutely, Mark. You can have my copy as soon as I'm done using it on the air. I'm sort of regretting that gift now. But he's been a good cat. Yeah.
No, Mark, I don't have a copy.
And Mark, Tracy doesn't have a copy, or more importantly, he's not willing to share it with you. Hey, if you're in the Las Vegas area, not only do you need to pop in here to the Quad, come up to the 5th floor and come visit us here in this rather monstrous facility on the 5th floor of these collector cars. But if you've got to rent a car and you're driving around, you got to listen to us on 9:20 a.m. on Sunday mornings at 8 o'clock on The Game. That's an ESPN sports talk show that we happen to be on. We love being associated with those folks. And we want to give a shout out to those local sponsors who make that possible. And of course, that's Godden Ford and Team Ford, two of the largest of the three Ford dealers here, and of course Chapman Dodge, and of course we've had them on the air, and a great group of people. And we were we were in a fortunate position to be selective about who we had as sponsors here. These are good stores, and of course they feel very closely tied to this program. So if you're there, let them know that you are a follower of our program, and they will treat you quite right because they know we can extract revenge. And, when you got 900,000 listeners, you got a way to play it off. But actually, good stories, you don't have to worry about that. I got some. Did you know, you guys want to whip those out and get after it? Did you know that in 1987, Chrysler purchased AMC, American Motors Corporation, and frankly, hence killing the last independent automaker back in 1987? Did you know that in 1967, American Motors produced what were considered by most automotive magazines to be the best-made American cars in America? That was true. They were getting a lot of rave reviews just before they died. So it's sort of like a jogger. They died healthy. Kind of a shame. Did you know that AMC was the first American automaker to mass market a four-wheel drive station wagon known as the Eagle?
The Eagle.
And I'll tell you what, those vehicles in the snow belt areas or the high-altitude regions of California and Arizona were highly coveted. When that production ended, people clung to those cars, kind of like Ford Excursions, the full-size Excursion. Those people will never part with those things. That's how it was with those Eagles, man.
I remember 25 plus years ago, first moving to Tehachapi, California, the amount of Eagles that were up in the area back then. Now there's a couple still kind of clean up there.
Still clean, and then I see a couple around Boulder City, just outside of Las Vegas here. Subaru's kind of been the replacement vehicle of choice in large part to that group. You got some, did you know?
I did, but I think I left them in my briefcase.
Nice.
I don't have them with
Spencer, you got one you want to throw at us? Boy, I'm telling you what, apparently I'm the guy that came to the show very prepared. So, listen, we are so excited about today's show. I can't wait to get into it. We do need to share a little bit of news. I'm going to label this one, you got to be kidding me. How brave are you feeling since you bought back all the stock from us lowly old stock payers, taxpayers? 2014 Chevrolet Camaro Z28, the long-anticipated, long-waited-for Z28 Camaro. Well, Chevrolet is not going to be shy about how you go to adopting one of those. $75,000 base price announced the other day. Wow, that's stout. This thing better be good.
And you don't get air conditioning with it. You can add that for $1,150, though, if you want to tack on air. But it does come with 505 horsepower and 481 foot-pounds of torque.
But no air conditioning.
No air conditioning.
Yeah, 75 grand just doesn't buy what it
used to. Nope.
Listen, I know GM's feeling really very full of chest right now because they have had an amazing turnaround. The SS Impala, by the way, getting rave reviews. Looks good, hauls butt. But you might want to calm down a little because you start pricing Camaros over a base Corvette. One has to kind of question the logic of that. So, you got some news you want to share? Because Lord knows there's plenty of it today.
Hey, this one I just happened to come across, and I thought this was unique. You might want to go. You can look for a video online called The Cloud Racer. And you know this man, Max the Axe Angelelli.
Angelelli. Yep.
He is one of the drivers for the
sometimes referred to as Mad Max. As a road racer, known to be just a touch aggressive.
Yeah, and he's such a little kind of meek-looking guy.
Yeah, but you saw at the NASCAR race, at the nationwide race at Mosport, the truck race rather, that was a lady slapping Mad Max because he pushed her husband off.
Exactly, and the guy took it like a man.
Yeah,
give the guy credit.
He didn't hit her back.
Anyway, he's one of the drivers on the Corvette Daytona prototype team. The video that I was talking about, the Cloud Racer, he got to take a ride. He was in a flight in a MiG-29 in Russia. And when I first saw it, I thought it said it was like a 7-minute video. I'd missed the one in the beginning. It was an hour and 7 minutes. I was glued to this thing. Now, for anybody that says that race car drivers are not athletes, you might want to watch this. He was in the back seat of this MiG fighter, and he was actually talking in hand signals. There were GoPros mounted throughout the whole thing, but he was saying G for 2, G for 3s. On what they were pulling in G-forces, he got up to a maximum of 8.2 Gs in this fighter jet, never blacked out. Dennis Rodman, let's see you and your fancy basketball players do that and take it over to Kim.
Yeah, in fact, go up on one of Kim's North Korean fighters and see if the wings stay on it.
It was a very impressive video, though. You might want to watch it.
That. Hey, MAV TV has kind of become the Speed Channel replacement. Frankly, I haven't found where it is exactly, but having said that, they just signed Dave Despain, who was with Speed, and now he has signed a 2-year deal to continue his show and actually do some race announcing as well. Despain, old enough to retire, but good enough to please don't. He's very, very good. He knows the sport. He not only knows car racing, both road racing, endurance racing, and NASCAR racing, he knows motorcycle racing up, forward, and backward. He's a diehard motorcycle guy. And I think getting Dave Despain on MAV TV was a smart move, and they really are becoming apparently the big motorsports channel now.
And he's one of those guys that he's a pleasure to listen to. He's got one of those voices that you just don't mind listening to on a regular basis.
All right, now if you think about the Dakar Rally and what goes on and how aggressive that is, do you really envision Mini running in it? But they've got several teams running Minis in the Dakar. I don't know how they're doing.
I think going through Dakar, you just want to go fast anyway.
True. Yeah, no, there's some areas. Yeah. In fact, bulletproof doors would be a nice thing to have. Hey, here's one for you. I don't know if you've heard yet. Most people probably have. Fiat now owns all of Chrysler. They have taken total control of the company. And, boy, I'll tell you what, it apparently was viewed as a good thing in a lot of people's eyes because Chrysler stock shot up 14%.
Yes, it did.
That's a lot in the stock market, folks. 14% with the result that they were able to put together a deal working with the UAW to make that happen. So kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. What else you got, bud?
Got one for you. There's been a battle between who was going to end up with Luxury Brand of the Year for 2013.
Boy, that has been a battle, and it's had some surprise leaders, too.
And it was a big battle between BMW and Mercedes. Who came out on top? Mercedes. And they barely edged out BMW. Total sales for BMW were 309,280 units. Mercedes, 312,534.
Okay, that's a legitimate duking, and I get Lexus was in there for a bit, and tell you what, that's been a very interesting battle to maintain leadership in that segment.
Very much so.
Both the key players in that have huge selections, almost to the point where I thought it was almost too much selection. Hey, a little bit of racing news real quickly. I'm going to title this one, it's about a year too late. Chevrolet and Honda, who are the key engine providers in the IndyCar series, have vowed to build very unique-looking aerodynamic package kits to go on the spec chassis, the Dallara chassis that runs in that series, to try and make the cars more distinctive and better looking. Let me put this in real easy terms. The cars are ugly ass and boring. They all look the same, and if it wasn't for different paint jobs, you wouldn't know who was who. I would love to have seen this happen in 2014, not waiting till 2015 to make that happen, because the cars are not much to look at, quite frankly. But if you don't care, you don't care. Nissan going to the Daytona 24-hour will be airing literally as you hear this, and will be running as you hear this. The 24 Hours of Daytona, the first kickoff endurance race of the year. Racing around the clock is often referred to. Going with a very successful team from another brand, largely Corvette, and that, of course, is Greg Pickett. Greg Pickett Racing, very, very successful. Greg, a famous Trans Am driver from not too long ago. Now his son is a key driver on this muscle milk-backed team, and they're going to make a serious effort with Nissan engines. And I've looked at the driver lineup. They're not joking. They're not joking at all. Alex Brundle, they've got some good shoes in these cars. We were a little disappointed. Tracy and I are big fans of the Delta Wing, and Nissan, of course, is imitating that to some degree, feeling they had the right to. Having said all that, coming up on the show, we are very, very excited. We're going to take you in-depth behind the scenes and really give you not only a look at, but a lot of the information surrounding the introduction of the Elio new three-wheel, what they're calling Autocycle car. This thing is really, really trick.
And if everything goes well, photos and maybe some video of driving this vehicle.
I think we will have that on our website. This is Drivers Talk. Appreciate being with us. Stick around for this next 45 minutes. You're going to enjoy it. Be right back. And welcome back to Drivers Talk. Rick Titus, Tracy Miller, and of course Spencer Crick on the board, making us look a lot taller than we actually are. Having said that, you know that we are coming to you from the center of the Las Vegas Strip, right across the street from Caesars Palace at the Quad Resort and Casino. We sit amongst 250 collector vehicles. What's unique about the world's largest showroom here is, guess what? Most of these are actually for sale. You go to our website, you'll actually see Tracy do some tours of these vehicles. It's kind of a fun thing. And now we're going to start road testing some of them for our YouTube channel as well. Having said that, if you've listened to this program for very long, you know we are very, very big fans of a new company startup. Now, we don't normally jump in on these deals because most startups turn into stalls. This one's not going to have that happen, and we love the product. And for the first time, we've actually had an opportunity to become hands-on. You want to tell them more, Mr. Miller?
Hands-on, eyes-on. We've been waiting for this moment. It finally happened this morning.
Yeah, you sat in and Spencer rode in.
Yeah, how do you get to ride in? I only got hands-on.
That's that generation.
Something's got to change after this recording. Anyway, what I would suggest is if you're near your computer and you're listening to the show, go to Elio, E-L-I-O, Motors.com. You will not be disappointed. Sitting in studio with us right now is Jerome Vasallo. He is VP of Sales for Elio Motors. And on the phone with us is the president and CEO of the company, Mr. Paul Elio. Paul, thank you so much for being with us. And Jerome, thank you for being with us. We appreciate it. Also sitting off camera is the Vice President of Marketing, Chip Stempick. Chip, thank you for being over there. We appreciate it. We've dealt with these guys for about a year and a half now, but to have them here and have the vehicle with us for the very first time, this is very exciting. Thank you, guys.
Very exciting stuff. We're very glad and welcome.
Well, thanks for having us.
Having said all that, let's jump into this puppy. If you've not taken going to look at this vehicle, the promises surrounding this car are pretty stout. Case in point, about a $7,000 purchase. I'll let you guys get more accurate on that in a minute. About 84 miles to the gallon. A 2-passenger vehicle with a delta of a 5-star crash rating. And did I mention this part? It's all American.
Wait, can we go back though? 84 miles to the gallon.
Yeah, and it's not a hybrid. This is actually powered by its own engine. Having said all that, perhaps, Paul, we ought to go to you first. You're the creator and the boss of this thing. Huge endeavor. We're so proud of you, buddy. This is a biggie. Talk to me. What was the motivation in doing this?
Well, it was 2008. Oil was going through the roof, and I watched the news every night and just got disgusted seeing all this wealth pour out of our country. And I own an engineering firm that specialized in new product development in automotive. And I went in one day and I kicked the project off. So that was really I got mad.
Boy, note here: don't piss off. No. Oh my word!
He goes to the extreme.
All right, but there's a whole lot of easier ways to get into industry, and more importantly, to make any kind of money. This is a huge undertaking. Are you still glad you've done this?
Absolutely. I think if I would have sat down and really thought about how hard it was going to be when I started, I wouldn't have done it. But now that we're here, I'm really glad I did.
Yeah, this is essentially like going to the moon. It says so much easier than it does. Huge endeavor. You will actually be delivering production vehicles of this car when?
First quarter of 2015.
Outstanding.
Not that far away.
So exciting. This is so exciting. You guys have the responsibility of making sure these things get sold. All he's got to do is keep the company moving forward. You got to try and explain to a very skeptical, I suspect, albeit maybe anxious American public. Jerome, you talk to me. What is it like to try and get people to understand the concept of this vehicle?
Well, it is really one of the easiest jobs there is to have. I mean, to be head of the sales division of a car that sells itself. I mean, you guys sat in it, you drove it,
yep.
You looked at it. It's easy and it's fun. And what we're doing now is we're touching points on folks that they haven't been touched before. For example, when you buy a car, for some folks, it's just transportation.
Yes, an appliance. Yep.
And when you look at ours at $6,800, it should be just that. It should be just an appliance.
You know what? You're dead right, come to think of it.
But it's not.
No.
Right? It turns into the guy that needs transportation because he lost his job, and unfortunately he's got to take 2 part-time jobs to be closer to home. Right? He can't take the job that would pay him more money on the other side of town, but now he can.
Yep.
For the other spectrum that has a beach house or something like that, and they've got a bicycle or a golf cart stored there 9 months out of the year, and they don't have anything. Well, this is something that they'll keep on hand there. So the price point is important because it sends a message. It says that we're accessible to everybody.
Paul, you want in on this?
Yeah. So 84 miles per gallon by itself is compelling. And $6,800 by itself is compelling. But when you put the two together, it creates this overwhelming value proposition.
But to Jerome's credit, the point he makes, and I just want to run with that a little bit, is there are other 3-wheel vehicles out there, but they have to be justified through rationale, right, because they don't really make sense for day-to-day transportation, or frankly, they're really on the edge of even being a justifiable toy. This is not the case here. This is a real world. You could use it. 2 people go down the road in air-conditioned comfort and know that you're safe and get that kind of mileage.
The other factor in this too, usually thrill and excitement do not go along with low cost.
That's right.
This is something that no sooner did you bring that out of the trailer today, there were people swarming around.
It was amazing.
Yeah, construction guys, Paul, everybody was here to see it.
The thrill and excitement is there at a very low cost.
Yeah. Well, in fact, we may scare the people here at the Quad and Caesars Entertainment because their entire security force was off the floor and around this car. Yeah. But it's really kind of exciting. Our show comes to you from Las Vegas, the most exciting city in the world, and we think this launch of this vehicle is one of the most exciting things we've been involved in for a very, very long time.
Oh, very much so. I can see where no matter where this goes, it's going to draw people, and you said that on your tour.
All right, Paul, you've been doing this since 2008. What have been some of the eye-openers for you?
I don't know. It's just been kind of a methodical project. Somebody said the genius of this project is there is no genius. You know what I mean? It really is just common sense stuff. We've engaged the incumbent supply base. We have 34 suppliers engaged. It's the who's who of the North American supply base. The parts on this vehicle are either in production or slight modifications of something that's in production today. So, we don't have to invent a battery. We don't have to invent infrastructure. So there hasn't really been an eye-opener. It's really just kind of methodical, just walking through it,
Well, you almost make it sound like so far it's been more about validation of what you were thinking and the direction you wanted to go than oh my God, you're breaking new ground.
Right, we really are. I mean, there's nothing new here. It's a 3-cylinder gas engine. That gas engines have been around for a while.
Well, what's really funny is now the entire world is coming to that logic.
Right.
That's what's funny. If you just said 3-cylinder 5 years ago, people looked at you sideways. No one was thinking along those terms. Now, Ford Motor Company's got a 3-cylinder coming out. General Motors, Volkswagen. I mean, people are now coming with 3-cylinder engines. You are already out in front of this notion.
Right, and our partner there is IAV, and they have 60% of the engineering services market in Germany, and we're working with their Detroit headquarters. And, they do the engine development for the likes of Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Bentley, Bugatti. So they did the Veyron engine, and they're doing this engine. And they're doing a great design, but there's no new technology. It's just a very good execution of current technology.
Will it be direct injected, do you know?
Yes.
See, again, the 125-year-old diesel technology, internal combustion gas engines are finally figuring out, hey, those guys actually knew what they were doing over there. That said, you're taking over a plant that was basically dormant. Can we talk about that a little bit? Are you okay to go there?
Yes, this is actually a great time. So that deal got finalized. We did a press release on it this morning.
Which, by the way, Tracy and I weren't on the email list. Chip will be in handcuffs the rest of the day. Let's talk about that. Can we please announce on our show worldwide here, where's the plant going to be, what sizes, and when do you actually see starting to move in there?
So it's in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, just outside of Shreveport. The facility is 4 million square feet.
Oh, so you couldn't find a big one? You had to go with that?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, to put that number in perspective, there's two ways to look at it. It's 100 acres under one roof, or it's 40% bigger than the Empire State Building. Empire State Building is 2.8 million square feet, and this is 4.
Holy moly.
It's not as cool. It's only one floor. It's big.
Oh, that's a shame. So Chip's going to have, what, a 10 by 10, cubicle? Or what do you... Oh, my God. Okay.
Well, there's no room for cubes. This happened through Racers Trust, which is part of the Department of Treasury, and they got the old assets out of the GM bankruptcy to clean up and dispose of. And their mission is to getting it in the hands of people who can create jobs. And so that's really the basis of this, is that they believe that we can create the jobs there. And that's how we got the site. So we own all the equipment inside, and so GM left all the equipment behind that was in there. And so we have everything you can possibly imagine to build a vehicle inside there. And then IRG, which is owned by controlled by Stu Lichter, is actually managing the site and controls the site and then leasing it to us.
Very, very interesting. Before we go to break real quickly, I want to ask, how big a rehab for you to take possession do you think you're facing?
This site saves us several $100 million. So, you can look at it, what does it cost to get it from here to there versus what does it save you versus a greenfield? And it saves us several $100 million.
Wow. This isn't actually a board meeting, Paul. I was convinced it was a good move. I just would love to hear that it's, that at least a significant portion of the equipment that's there is actually helpful to what you want to do. We come back from break. We're going to talk about how people can sign up to get this vehicle, where they can learn more about it. The website, obviously, will put a lot of pressure on Jerome to make sure he's communicating to everybody. We're going to go to break right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Drivers Talk Radio, AM/FM listeners. We'll be right back. We appreciate you being with us. And welcome back to Drivers Talk. Rick Titus, Tracy Miller, Spencer Craig, coming to you from the Quad Resort and Casino. This is such an exciting time. We are in the single most exciting city in the world, and for this show, after 700, and this is episode 711, as we start our 15th season on the air, this is a big announcement for us, because this is a company we've been pulling for since its inception. We are so behind this idea. How exciting to finally be able to do this, Tracy.
And we're hoping to have more of a connection with them. This is Elio Elio, E-L-I-O Motors.com. That's where you want to go on your computer. Check them out. This is a 3-wheel vehicle, brand new, starting production about 1 year from now, first quarter of 2015. And in studio with us is Jerome Vasallo. He's the VP of Sales with Elio Motors. Off screen, who you cannot see, sitting over there is Chip Stempick. He is the Vice President of Marketing. And on the phone with us is President, CEO, founder, the guy that originated this, the thought process.
Does nobody trust us? You notice the president of this company is now on the phone making sure about the interview. Molly comes down from Caesars Entertainment to make sure this interview goes to certain. Does nobody have confidence that we have some idea?
I guess Paul sent his guys just in case things went wrong.
Is there so little faith? And by the way, I look at Chip and I'm thinking enforcer. I don't see VP of anything.
All right, let me finish. On the phone, Paul Elio from Elio Motors. Paul, thanks so much for being with us. We got to see your vehicle for the very first time in person today, as opposed to being on the web. Awesome vehicle. We can't wait to be done with this interview. Not that we want to hurry it along. We want to get in it. We want to drive it. We want to see what it's like to be behind the wheel.
We're very excited about that. We got to talk. First of all, where can people go to learn more about this thing? Jerome, you want to take that?
Yeah, at www.eliomotors.com, we've set up a website that really talks in a lot of detail.
It's a good website.
Yeah, thank you.
Did a good job.
There's a lot of information out there because we're appealing to a lot of different groups. So you can't just put a little bit out and hope that they're happy and this guy's not happy. So we try to spill everything out there. And we're an open company anyway. So by putting everything out there, what our anticipations are, some of the hurdles we have yet to face, they're all out there. We also are on Facebook as well. And I like that forum. I'm kind of new to it. I don't use it very much, but I do now.
Well, see, and I hate to say this, being in the radio business, I've been reluctant too. Like I told you, when they took my Sledger-Matic typewriter out of my Motor Trend office, I followed it down the hall.
So you know where I'm at. I have liked you guys on Facebook.
Oh, very good.
I'm on top of this.
See how you're trying to get a higher reservation number than me.
Nicely done.
That said, let's go to the boss man. Paul, got to ask you, let's talk about sales. Where do we stand? Are there going to be dealers, or are they going to deal with the factory directly? How's this going to work?
Well, we're getting ready to roll that out on the 12th. So we're almost there on the whole business model, if you will, on how we're going to get the vehicles from the factory into the folks' hands. We will have presence, physical brick-and-mortar presence in the top 60 markets, I can tell you that.
Whoa. Wow. Whoa.
And we will have a significant service infrastructure as well.
All right, now, Paul, let me just say here, this is your opportunity, Paul. We are...
the sales process will be unique as well.
Hang on now. The 12th isn't too far away. We have 900,000 listeners in 7 different countries. This could be the moment for the big world premiere. If there's anything you want to get off your conscience and talk about dealers, we're here to listen, buddy.
All right, we'll go ahead and start teasing it out. So we're going to do company-owned stores in the top 60 markets.
Awesome.
So you'll be able to
like
see
that
and
best.
test drive and touch an Elio.
I love that best. Yep.
We will have an enormous amount of point-of-sale installed content available for this vehicle.
Also good
So
news.
to hit the price point, it comes with air conditioning, power windows, power door locks, and a radio standard. But we have a huge upscale clientele, even though it's an inexpensive vehicle. And those folks have not sat in a cloth manual seat in 2 decades. Lear's our seat provider. I believe they're the 3rd largest in the world and the 2nd in North America. And so they're providing the cloth manual seat. They'll also provide a 6-way power leather seat that you can purchase after manufacture, which we'll install for you. So there's an enormous amount of content set up to be that way. So the process will be you walk into Elio Motors anytime from when we open to when we close at 9 p.m. And you pick out your color, your transmission, and what options you want. And the vehicle will be there next day at 10 a.m. exactly the way you ordered it.
Oh, you just wrote a check. Jerome's got to cash now. I'm sorry. I had to look at your 2 guys here.
His eyes just got really big.
And they're both a lot paler than they were a minute ago.
Thank you, Mr. Elio.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That
is a very aggressive approach here, Paul. Really? Does it need to be that aggressive, you think?
Well, I think we can accomplish it pretty effectively. We have some pretty staunch partners that we're in negotiations with. We were hoping, that's why I held off, is I wanted to get the letter intent stage so we could do press releases on who our partners are. Right. We're not quite there, but people keep wanting to know how we're going to sell the vehicle, so we're going to let you know the framework and then we'll let you know who's behind how this is all going to work as it happens. But just like in our supply base, it's the who's who in the North American supply base. Our partners on the business side are equally as credible.
Well, that said, Paul, I have to ask you this question, and I'm so proud of this company and so pleased with the way it's going. But Mr. Musk has been through some issues trying to be his own dealers for Tesla. Do you think you're going to get pushback here?
I think that there will be a few states where we will may encounter issues. We have a couple of advantages. Well, one, he's getting the hurdles removed in several states, and we appreciate that.
Yes. Better on his money.
And I love Tesla. I mean, somebody needs to do a high-end electric car, and they're doing a nice job.
Yes, they are.
I don't see them as adversarial in any stretch. And then we are a motorcycle, so the laws are slightly different for motorcycles versus a car. So we won't have exactly the same problems they have. And then the politics of the Elio is different. For whatever reason in this country, it's okay to hate rich people, but it's not okay to hate poor people. And because
that's why we've got such a fan base.
And this is a common man car, the politics are much sounder, easier for us, I believe.
I think that's excellent. I'm glad to hear it. You got a question there, Mr. Miller?
Yeah, actually, Paul, one of the things I wanted to get into, you just mentioned something. You're classified as a motorcycle. It still looks like a car, but it's a three-wheeler. One of the things that we were discussing before we went on the air is you don't have to meet car safety standards, but you guys are going after the car safety standards to make sure that your customers are going to be safe. I think that is just exemplary for a company.
Well, and we're going way beyond the minimum car standards. So there's the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards, which is the minimum hurdle to be legal as a car. And then there's the 5-star rating system. And obviously you can build a 3-star car and it's legal, right? We are intending to achieve 5-star rating in all three directions. So we're going way beyond the minimum hurdles of a car.
But you did touch on something, Jerome. Are they going to have a motorcycle license to drive this car?
It depends what state you're in, and right now we're working with the states to categorize this as an Elio, right, a new category, rather than a car or a motorcycle.
Did the Grand Am...
Right. We call it an autocycle.
Right.
And so far, we've been successful 100% of the time that we've attempted. And AMVA, the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, they monitor motor vehicle laws nationally and recommend best practices, so each state legislature doesn't have to come up with their own language. And they recently recommended language that was successfully passed in Michigan and Louisiana by Elio as how people ought to handle three-wheel vehicles.
Well, and it's not catastrophic anyway. I mean, in California, I have a motorcycle license from California. It was transferred here to Nevada. It was just a written, and basically the same common law practices in terms of the laws.
Yeah, you get hung up in little details when you start going down that road.
Yeah.
Because, for example, if your mom and dad wanted to look at one, well, what are the chances, if they don't already have a motorcycle endorsement, of them going out and taking a motorcycle test,
point.
right? And what if I physically can't fit through the same cone pattern that the motorcycle test is, right? Do they change the cones, or do they change the category?
See, in California, it wasn't even a riding test. It was literally a riding.
And in Michigan, it is.
It's a riding test. Very interesting. Did the introduction of the Grand Am motorcycle, that the three-wheel, 2 wheels in front, kind of the same, which by all engineers tell you that's the best layout dynamically, did that help at all? Do you think that broke some ground for you guys?
Well, I think it brought some attention to the fact that there's other categories out there, right? So there are some states that the three-wheeled Can-Am is its own category. They don't have to go through those tests. They don't, for example, the braking test.
The key differentiation between us and a Can-Am or a traditional motorcycle is the enclosed roll cage, 3 airbags, and 2 seatbelts.
Right.
Good point.
And a steering wheel, not handlebars. So we have automotive-style controls with the airbag, the seatbelt, and roll cage. So, we are motorcycle-like in some ways, and we're car-like in some ways, and that's why we're calling it an autocycle, because it really is a blending of those two segments. It's kind of its own thing.
Well, in all fairness, the Grand Am does, in fact, have crumple and wrinkle zone. It just happens to be the rider.
Right. Exactly right.
I think I'd rather be in a vehicle where it was prepared to make the appropriate sacrifice.
And the fact, too, you're in a fully enclosed vehicle. You don't have to worry about weather. or the weather changes. Inclement weather, you're going to be inside just like in a car. I think huge advantages here.
All right, now, people are going to go inside. Are they going to see that you can put groceries in this thing, you can put cargo in this thing, you can put 2 people in there, they actually can get out. We watched Spencer get out of the back seat of this thing. It was not an issue. And he's homely, but he is fairly ambulatory. Did a good job, Spencer, getting out of the back of the thing for your first time.
Hey, that thing was actually really
and honestly,
spacious.
That's the biggest first comment of people who've seen a ton of pictures of this thing. When they see it live for the first time, they're like, wow, it's bigger than I thought. You have to admit, it's a full-size vehicle. It's half width, but it's full-size.
No, very definitely.
For some reason, it doesn't photograph full-size.
Tell you what we're going to do, Paul. First time at 711 episodes, we're going to go to a third segment with an on-phone guest. We appreciate you sticking around. AM/FM audience, we're going to go to break right now. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Driver's Talk. Rick Titus, Tracy Miller, Spencer Crick, coming to you from the Quad Resort Casino. Hey, if you are in Las Vegas, you got to come by and see us. We're here at the Auto Collections. We're on the 5th floor of the Quad Resort and Casino. Just punch the elevator button, come on up, mention our names, and well, they'll probably charge you double. But having said that, you got to come in here and see this collection of cars. We're coming to you right from the most exciting city, the most exciting boulevard in all the world, and that, of course, is Las Vegas and the Strip. Having said that, we are really doing something unprecedented for us. We are going to go into a third segment with an interview that we've wanted for a long time, and that was an opportunity to introduce to you this Elio automobile. This vehicle is so unique, so interesting, and so American. I love that this proves America is still in the game. Now, I know those listening to us in Canada, Australia, Mexico, and India are all going, okay, but are we going to see these vehicles? Jerome, I'll put it on you. Are these other countries that love to watch this show, are they going to get this vehicle eventually?
Absolutely.
See, this is awesome. This is awesome.
We are not selfish.
No. That's an interesting perspective there, Jerome. I got to give it to you. Paul, how do you feel about it? You're not going to have to put the steering wheel on the right-hand side because guess what? It's in the center anyway, right? I think I wrote a check Paul didn't want a piece of.
I'm sorry. I had a meeting coming in. I just let them know that I wasn't available. Can you ask that question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say that you're going to meet the right side, left side steering wheel issue, no problem, because it sits right in the middle, does it not?
That's right. And I'll tell you what, you don't realize how awkward it is driving off-center of a vehicle until you get to drive in the middle.
You know, it's funny. I get to race
feel
Formula
like you're in a
cars.
little Indy car.
Exactly.
It just feels right.
It's funny, I'll race production cars one weekend, race a Formula car next week, and go, you know, this is a much more logical location to be sitting in.
You know, and Paul, to go back to what we were talking about before we went to break, and that is the size of the vehicle inside. When we were out in the parking lot before we came up, I was very impressed. I got into the back seat, and I thought because the vehicle narrows a little bit that it was going to be kind of tight. You guys did an amazing job at how much space there is in the back. It's not just the vehicle, how it narrows up, but they actually took the side panels and expanded those to the outside of the vehicle. There's a huge amount of space back there.
All right, but that sets up the obvious conversation. I know you guys are still getting the finer edges off of it, but Jerome, I got to ask you, when we get press releases from domestic car companies or sit through some kind of press intros, we hear bragging at 0.33, 0.30 is probably some of the slickest American aerodynamic CD numbers out there. What kind of numbers is this vehicle? Because the shape is good.
It's very good. It's pretty slippery, right?
It's very slippery. Paul, you want
to... What we really look at is CDA. So your coefficient of drag gets multiplied by your frontal area, and that determines the total drag your engine has to overcome, right? So CD by itself isn't that meaningful. Right?
Okay.
You can have a low CD, but if you have a huge A, you still have a lot of drag.
Okay.
So our CDA is 0.26, which is very, very favorable.
Well, it's a number I've never seen before.
Right, we were talking about it earlier, Paul. It's very slippery.
And very smart the way it
I should know
tapers.
the CD off the top of my head, because I don't pay attention to it, I don't know that number off the top of my head. I apologize.
Oh, don't feel bad. I don't go down the street going, so if I take the square of the frontal area and divide that by, thanks for that little engineering test there.
Yes, he really is that smart.
Yeah,
but the concept is, and this is really what drove the design, is the area is critical, right? So it's CD times your frontal area, which is the shadow it creates if you put a flashlight in front of it, times your velocity squared. And so by having the two occupants sit front to back instead of side by side, we cut our area in half. And that's why we get the mileage we do.
Yeah, I'm sure that occurred to most of our listeners as well, Paul, so I'm glad you brought that up.
I simplify it a lot.
Yeah, you know, it's a lot easier conversation downstairs, Jerome, but leave it to the engineer to have to go ahead and bring all of that into it. But I understand completely. Having said all that, what are we looking for a wet weight for this thing, do you think?
1228 is where we're currently at. We'd like to hit 1200.
Son of a gun,
Right.
Really? That's awesome.
And when you think about it, the Volkswagen Bug, the original one, was about 1200. So, you know, it's not an unheard of mass for a vehicle.
Oh, no, I think as a Delta, it's quite doable. I just don't know if people think about it. Now, given the horsepower you're going to have and the engine, air conditioning is going to be available?
Yes, it's going to be standard.
It's standard.
Oh, it's going to be standard with air?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so at $6,800, you get air conditioning, power windows, power door locks, and a radio.
That's unbelievable.
That's incredible.
It is incredible. How much cargo or grocery are we talking about? Since you're so into the numbers here, I'd like a specific cubic foot number, please.
So with the rear seat folded up, you can fit an airline compliant bag, you know, one that you can fit in the overhead bin in the trunk.
Got it.
The rear seat folds down and makes a package shelf, so when it's unoccupied, you can fit golf clubs, skis, or long items. So the basic premise behind the car is most households have a vehicle that's primarily single occupant, right? And then I think that's how this will get used mainly. And then you can put the seat back and hold two people to take them to lunch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a single occupancy F-150. I mean,
Right. We all do.
you know.
Yeah, with a big bed on the back, unused most of the time.
Exactly. Very, very good point. You're going to be able to maintain such a tight American OE content in this thing, you think?
Yeah, right now we're targeting 90% North American content. We are soundly on schedule to do that. So I don't see that changing. I think we'll have 90% North American content assembled in Cabot Parish, Louisiana.
So you're going to have, at these sales outlets, you'll have a sales consultant, perhaps two, on staff at each one of these locations?
Yes.
Very interesting. Paul, Elio, we are so proud of you. We are so excited about this product. We really want to stay tight in touch with you about this thing. Tracy, you got more you want to add?
Paul, I because of the fact that this is 90% North American, the fact that you've taken over a defunct GM plant, how many jobs do you think you're going to be creating with this?
Well, we're going to create 1,500 in Caddo Parish. We've guaranteed that to Racers Trust. I think we create an equal number throughout the supply base distributed across the country. So that's 3,000 direct manufacturing jobs. And the economic development folks give you 6 jobs in the community for every direct manufacturing job. You know, restaurants, barbers, linen supply, etc.
Wow.
So if you do the math, that's 20,000 total new jobs created over the next 24 months.
Wow.
Kudos to you. You know, I'm glad you're an engineer because I couldn't have figured it out that fast.
Yeah, that's
Well,
good.
I've talked about it more than once, so
I'm
I
guessing.
didn't actually do the math this time.
You know, that's why I was so good at explaining my report cards, because I had explained them so frequently. I understand completely.
Kudos to you and your team, Paul. Absolutely incredible.
Yep. And by the way, having met members of your team, congratulations. These are solid people, and I think they represent you and the company quite well. Just know this, that this American radio show will do anything it can to be of help to you, Paul.
Well, thank you, and that's really the passion behind the project, is that we can do this here. American manufacturing isn't dead. We still are the pride of the world, and I think this is a great project to demonstrate that.
You know, I'm going to take that a notch further and say, guess what? Neither is American innovation, because that's what I think you're going to be proving internationally. That, okay, you cats think you're all so much smarter than us. Take a look at this, pal, because I love where this thing's headed. Congratulations, my friend. Godspeed. And thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. That said, hey, guys, I'm going to pick on you a little bit here. I'm going to let Paul get to his meeting, but there are a few things I want to talk about. You've been out. How many people do you think have seen this vehicle first person at this juncture?
Well, you were talking earlier about you put your hand on it. Well, there's other parts of the body that touch this vehicle, and there's probably been 80,000 butts at least. that have
Holy
sat
mackerel,
in that
really?
vehicle.
Wow.
Yeah, and it talks a lot to the integrity of the car. Think about opening and closing a door. How many times you do that during?
Yeah,
the
we
lifetime
were
of a
talking
car,
that down
right?
there. I talk to people all the time and say, you do not realize the engineering challenge of getting a door to go back into that jam
Right.
over and over and over again and stay there.
You know, and some of us are still wondering if the light stays on in the refrigerator. Right, we're on that step. Well, these guys are way ahead of that, thinking how many times will this door open and close? How much weight do I have to give to that? Right, we have those critical targets to still meet: 84,000 or 84 miles per gallon, $6,800, American made. Right, those are all things that every move and every change Paul incorporates, those things have to be met.
All those deltas are at risk, yes.
Yes, every time.
Yep.
And the 5-star is also one of those. So, but there's more to it. From a sales side, we want to appeal to people on an intimate level, right? We want them to love the car. So what we're fortunate, privileged to see at our tour events is people come up and they'll see it for the first time. It'll be in a shopping mall, and we'll have it on display, and we'll have our followers come with their T-shirts, right? But everybody wants to know what's going on. So by the end of the day, you've got shopkeepers and all these folks that work the mall that we don't think about how they get to and from work, but all of them live near the mall. Just like here in Vegas, how many of them live downtown, right? They're all commuting. Mm-hmm. So at 84 miles per gallon, they're saving a ton of money, and it's real money. I mean, fuel is real.
Oh, it is not. It's already headed back up, and of course, the government's adding taxes statewide, inch by inch. That said, when you go to the website, the cars we've seen, I would refer to as quirky colors. They're kind of fluorescent, kind of neon. The car you brought here today is silver. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that. Are people anticipating this car should be offered in contemporary colors, or do you think that quirkier colors is a good move?
Well, the beauty of Elio is we appeal across the board, right? So for us, silver is a great color because no other car, and you have them here in the museum, no other car shows the lines of the vehicle like silver does, right? If I put a color on a car,
that's an interesting point, though.
I see color, right? If I use silver or body color, I see lines.
So it could be risky. Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is an ugly-ass car shouldn't be in silver.
Exactly. And Paul's made this one silver for a reason.
Yeah.
Because the body is beautiful.
It is pretty.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about it. Silver's still the best-selling color. It's anticipated that by the end of 14, silver will start to taper off, and the more flamboyant colors.
Right.
In fact, I know a number of automotive manufacturers are getting ready to add more flamboyant colors to their cars. We've seen Ford do that with Fiesta and Focus. Right. But I wasn't expecting the door to come down off the trailer today and see a silver car roll out. And I was glad to see it.
I think because of the fact that we've seen the bright green car on the videos.
And the orange. Yeah.
And the orange. I was anticipating seeing that green car roll.
Right.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that was good to see. Has that car been around the country as much as, let's say, the green one? I know the green one's had a lot of miles put on it.
It was. I wasn't here for the green one, but I know the silver one has been around the country, literally around the country. So
Got it. So do you know a color span at this juncture? Does the website do you feel justice to that?
It does. It does. It's hard to recreate color because I don't know what your monitors are set at home, right? So when you're looking at an orange, is it a burnt orange on your monitor? And our intention is it to be, a different shade. So that's difficult.
Well, here's where you may want to go German, because the colors we painted it is the colors you will like.
Right.
So
absolutely. And my background, so I'm very familiar with that.
Exactly. You know that. Hey, that said, we want to take the time to say thank you very much to the guys from Elio, and really we are praying for this company to be the success I think you're going to be building there. You got to go to their website and learn more about this car. This is good stuff. Having said all that, we wish you open roads and safe motoring. You take care.